Lord, I need more income. Lord, I need you to provide. Lord, open up a door for me. God, send your provision. If you don't do it, it's not going to get done. Lord, I need help. Have you ever found yourself praying that type of prayer where you like, God, I need you to open up some doors. I need your provision like yesterday. If so, friend, I want to let you know that God is not only going to give you provision, but he is going to give you what I call favor provision. Now, favor provision, that is where God provides specifically for you, right? This isn't just general provision where he provides for his people, but this is where he look at you, he look at your situation, he looks at exactly what you need and when you need it, and he specifically and intentionally sets you up for a blessing and a breakthrough in a way that nobody else can get it. And this is exactly what we see happen in Ruth chapter 2. If you're new to my channel, if you're new to the Bible study, welcome, sis. I am Erica, and we are doing a Bible study for business owners through the Book of Ruth. And chapter 2 shows us that God gave Ruth favored provision. He didn't just provide for her, but he provided for her in a way that had her name on it. When we go through this, we will see how Boaz, he told his workers to specifically drop grain on the ground on purpose for Ruth to glean. We will see as we go through chapter 2 how God set things up for Ruth in a way she couldn't even pray for. And I want you to get excited today because this video is going to prove to you that there is grain with your name on it. There is blessings with your name on it. There is breakthrough with your name on it. And as we go through this, you are going to see how God ordered Ruth's steps in the midst of loss, lack, famine, grief. And you're going to see that that is the same God who is ordering your steps through the heartaches, through the trials, through the challenges, through the loss, through the lack, through the famine you may be going through. You're going to see that the same God that ordered Ruth's steps to Boaz's field is the same God who was ordering your steps to the field that he has you in. Okay. And so before we get started and dive into the book of Ruth chapter 2, I created something special for you, and it is a 15-day devotional journal through the complete book of Ruth. This book, this devotional journal, is an ebook. It will change how you see the book of Ruth. It will change and transform how you do business, how you think about your assignment. So be sure to just go to ericadavenport.com/shop. It is $10, an automatic download. You will never see the book of Ruth and how you do business the same. So be sure to go check that out. Now, we left off at chapter 1, right? And chapter 1 ends at the beginning of the barley season. So it's about to be harvest. Things have been dim and grim, but we see that there is light. There is hope coming, right? Little did Ruth and Naomi know that throughout all of this, God had been positioning them for the provision. So chapter 2, we are going to experience how God's provision will find you. You don't have to go searching. You don't have to go seeking. You just have to be in position, right? And so as we open up in chapter 2, the Bible lets us know that Boaz was a great man of wealth, right? In chapter 1, if you remember, if you haven't caught our last 2 videos on chapter 1, be sure to go look at that. But in chapter 1, Elimelech, Naomi's former husband, he had left Bethlehem because there was a famine. But here in chapter 2, we see that Boaz was a man who remained in the land and he was thriving. Chapter 2 lets us know that he was a man of great wealth. And this is an immediate takeaway as we build what God has called us to build. And as things sometimes look dry and be slow, famine doesn't always mean abandon. Elimelech had abandoned Bethlehem, the place of bread, the promised land, because of a famine. And as entrepreneurs, we have to understand that we cannot panic in famine seasons. Sometimes low sales, slow money growth, not getting clients, not getting views, the pressure and the discouragement, the famine in business can make us want to abandon the business. God, did you really call me to this? God, what is the point? God, I am putting in all this effort and nothing is giving me the outcome I feel like I deserve. But this is a reminder to stay put unless God say so. Be still and know. If you have been pondering about leaving that assignment, leaving your post, not pursuing the business, not starting what God told you to start because you're not getting the fruit, there's a famine. This is a reminder that it doesn't always mean abandon the assignment. It doesn't always mean abandon the purpose. It doesn't always mean go to the next new thing because you're not seeing the one thing produce what you wanted to. And so as we get to Ruth chapter 2, verses 3, the Bible tells us that, and she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, right? So the writer of Ruth tells us that Ruth just so happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz. There was many fields to glean from, and we know that this was not a coincidence at all, right? This was God ordering her steps because there was provision with her name on it. And so he led her to the field that would be a blessing for her. And this is something that I took away. Ruth was willing to work. She was willing to do the work. She was willing to glean. She was willing to get her hands dirty. She was willing to show up. She took initiative, but it is still according to God's divine timing and his divine alignment that we will see the fruit. It was the timing, it was the alignment, it was the things that led her to finding Boaz's field. And that's when she's seen the fruit. So sometimes we may want to prematurely abort the mission and give up and stop working and stop posting and stop recording and stop showing up because we're not seeing the fruit. But we cannot leave out God's divine timing and God's divine alignment. So I want to encourage you to keep going in the direction that he's calling you. Keep moving forward. If you don't know what to do, just do what you can do. Sometimes I'm praying like, God, I don't know what you want me to do in this season. I don't know how I'm supposed to, but just do what you can because he is ordering your steps, right? So Ruth is working. She's gleaning the field. And verse 4 tells us that Boaz, he came from Bethlehem and he said to his reapers. So he went to his workers and he said, the Lord be with you. And they answered, the Lord bless you. This stood out to me as a business owner because how we lead matters, right? What this greeting shows us is that there was a mutual respect between Boaz and his workers. There was a level of humility. He wasn't just walking around cracking a whip, acting like he was better than everybody else, micromanaging because he carried the title of boss. And this is important as we build what God calls us to build, because some of us, we are going to have people coming alongside us as teams. We're going to have team members. We're going to have people who are working for us, and how we lead, how we show up, how we greet them, it matters, right? And so I feel like Boaz had a great relationship with his workers. He was a man of wealth. You ever been at a job and like they don't even know your name? They don't even know you exist. They don't know the gifts you have. It feels like reading this, Boaz had a intimate, personal, friendly relationship with his people. He knew who they were. And he also knew who they weren't. He's seeing Ruth like, whose young woman is this? Right? He knew his people in the field. He knew the faces of his employees. He knew probably what their family members was up to. And these are just small takeaways that the Bible shows us as we build and as we lead, right? And so he asked them, who is this? Because she wasn't somebody he was used to seeing. He recognized someone new in his field, right? And so the people tell Boaz all about Ruth and Naomi's story. And so now Boaz is like intrigued, right? He is watching this woman glean in the field, this foreigner who left her home, her gods, her people to serve the God of her mother-in-law, to provide for her mother-in-law. And so he's just in awe, right? He was watching how she worked. He had the power to provide. And this is so important, especially during seasons of famine, especially during those times where it feels like nothing is working. We're showing the algorithm isn't pushing our videos in our favor. We're selling, but our bank accounts don't reflect that. This is where I want you to remember that God is watching how you work, right? And this is how God positions us for favor provision. Ruth didn't even know that she had been under inspection by the boss. Sometimes I think we can miss it too. We don't even realize that God is inspecting how we show up. Are we showing up with an attitude of gratitude? Are we serving? Are we looking for transformation of the people we called to serve more than we're looking for transaction, right? Are we demonstrating the love and light of God? God is watching and God is inspecting, and how we show up matters because this is what positions us for the favor provision. God is saying, I see the way she shows up. I see how she posts. I see how she sent emails. I see how she encouraged people. I see how she served. I'm watching. She doesn't know it yet, because she's still showing up and it ain't paying the bills. She's still doing what I told her to do and she don't see the fruit yet. But God is inspecting your work, friend. God is inspecting how you're showing up, and God is positioning you not just for provision, but specific provision, because he's watched how you've shown up. He's watched your consistency. He's watched you dry your tears and get back to work. He's watched you quit so many times, right? But then you get back up again. I don't know about y'all, but I don't quit entrepreneurship. I don't even know how many times I've quit, right? But I get back up because I know that this is what God has called me to do. And so verse 8 tells us that Boaz, he sees Ruth in the field and he goes to her and he says, listen, my daughter, do not go to glean in another field, nor go from here, but stay close by my young women. So we find this door that is beginning to open of provision, right? He said, I'm going to give you companionship in my field. I'm going to give you protection in my field. I'm going to give you refreshment in my field. He told her, stay in my field. I already told my guys, don't touch you. I've already told my guys, don't put your hands on her. When you thirsty, go to drink from the vessel that my guys already drew. He told them, leave bundles of grain for her on purpose. Friend, that is favor provision. God is going to give you favor provision. It's like, no, when people are looking for what you offer, he's going to put your name in their mouths. No, we want some person who does it this way. We want a sis who teaches the Bible this way. We want somebody who serves women who are looking to lose weight this way. We want a coach this way. We want an author this way. Other women gleaned in Boaz's field, but other women didn't have that same protection, provision, and purposeful provision that Ruth did. And that's the difference between general provision and favor provision, right? That's when your name is on. There was some grain that he said, this is for Ruth. It may look like it's for everybody, but with this fall to the ground, it is for Ruth. And I want you to understand that God is going to provide for you out of his abundance. It may be hard. It may be difficult, but I want you to stay the course. Okay, so now Ruth has worked for the day. She's worked the field. She sat down. She ate with Boaz, and now she's back at home with Naomi. And so in verse 19, Naomi asked her, where have you gleaned today? And where did you work? She said, blessed be the one who took notice of you, because Ruth came with leftover food. She came with all this wheat. And so the Bible tells us that she told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked and said, the man's name with whom I work today is Boaz. Then Naomi said to Ruth, blessed be he of the Lord, who has not forsaken his kindness to the living and the dead. And Naomi said to her, this man is a relation of ours, one of our close relatives. And so now Naomi got some hope again, right? When she heard that Ruth just so happened to end up in Boaz's field, and she know who Boaz is, she know the type of man, she know what he has, she know his character, she can begin to see the light. She began to see how God had been ordering their steps. She began to see that God, in fact, did not forget about them. And I want you to understand, friend, that you have suffered privately, right? You have shown up, you've done all that you could do, but God is going to bless you publicly in a way that other people are going to have hope in him. It's never just about you. It's never just about your business, but it's what God wants to do through you. This is why you can't give up. This is why you can't abandon during the famine, right? This is why you can't walk away from the business, from the assignment, from the calling, because the favor provision that has your name on it is also going to be a blessing to others. As we see the book of Ruth unfold, Naomi took part in the blessing because of Ruth's obedience, because of the favor provision that God had on Ruth. So in your famine seasons or in your lack seasons, in your hard seasons as you build your business, believe God for favor provision and believe that the things you have suffered for privately, the things you have gone through privately, when God gets ready to bless you publicly, other people is going to have hope. Other people can begin to see the light. Other people will begin to think, well, if he did it for her, he'll do it for me. And so verse 23 tells us that she stayed close by the young women of Boaz. So verse 23 says, so she stayed close by the young women of Boaz to glean until the end of the barley harvest and wheat harvest, and she dwelt with her mother-in-law. So Naomi had advised her, don't leave Boaz's field. Stay close to his women. Do exactly what he say. And that's exactly what Naomi did. But here is something that, as I was studying chapter 2, that I don't want you to miss. As I was processing, I looked at how how Naomi told Ruth, he is a close relative of ours, right? And in my mind, by law, Ruth is no longer Naomi's daughter-in-law. Ruth, by every right, could go marry another man and become a daughter-in-law to that woman. And so as I was looking at this, I start to wonder, like, who was Boaz's mom? Who would legally be Ruth's mother-in-law if she married Boaz? Now, when I'm studying the Bible, I ask a lot of questions. I'm digging deep. And I was reminded, because I honestly forgot, of Matthew 1, verses 5. And I want to show you this because this is how, like, divinely and strategically God will order our steps. If we go back to Matthew 1, the Bible tells us that this is the genealogy of Jesus, right? Salmon was the father of Boaz, who's believed to be one of the spies who went out to spy the land during the days of Joshua, whose mother was Rahab. Boaz, the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. Obed, the father of Jesse, who we know has David, right? And we know from that lineage comes King Jesus. But this is what was like really wowed me, because Rahab, if you remember, was the harlot from Joshua. She was the prostitute who helped the two spies get out of the land that they were spying on and about to take over. And as a returned favor, they didn't kill her and her family, right? The Jews, the Israelites didn't kill when they went to go take the land. And this was so interesting to me because Boaz seen this foreign woman in the field, and he had to have some form of compassion. And his mother was a foreigner, right? His father, Salmon, was a Jew. He was in I forgot which tribe he was in, but his father was a Jew. But his mother, like Ruth, was a foreigner, a woman from another culture, belief system. So imagine Boaz having this heart for women. Imagine Boaz knowing what it's like for a woman. And this is just how strategic and how intentional God is, how he's ordering our steps. It took a man to have a mother who was in a foreign land, to have a mother, who was a mixed breed, to really understand and have compassion and compassion and a heart for a woman like Ruth. And this is why it's just so important as you go through your journey, as you go through your process, to remember that your steps are truly ordered by the Lord, to remember that God is in control, even when you can't see it. He will order our steps, and we don't know where we're going. But I just want you to know today that your steps are being ordered. Don't move unless God say so. Don't pivot unless God say so. Don't abandon it unless God say so. And so I hope chapter 2 has really opened up your eyes to see that even when it doesn't seem like you know where you're headed and when you know where you're going, you can feel lost. You can be lost, but God's provision is going to find you. I want you to type in the chat if you're watching the replay or if you're here on the live, find me. Find me. God's provision is going to find you. You don't have to stress. You don't have to worry. You don't have to stay up at night trying to make it happen. Your steps are being ordered even when you cannot see the way. And so that is what I have for chapter 2. Be sure to go back and read chapter 2. If you are a person who you're pursuing your purpose and God has called you to entrepreneurship as a coach, I would love for you to join our Freedom newsletter. Get on my newsletter where I send out information, resources, education, prayers, everything to help you alongside of your journey. If you are looking to collaborate, I do in-person and virtual workshops and trainings for different communities, for women, for ministries. Be sure to contact me for collaboration there. I don't like to end a Bible study with the assumption that every person that makes it to the end knows Jesus or they're saved. And so I want to take a moment before I close out chapter 2. I just want to take a moment to offer an invitation to someone who maybe you've walked away from God, you no longer believe, maybe you never believed. Romans 10:9 says that if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, that you will be saved. And so before I end, I just want you to repeat this prayer after me. Lord Jesus, I choose to believe that you died for my sins and rose that I may live. Forgive me of my sins and come into my heart. In Jesus' name, amen. It's that simple, friend. You are saved. If you said it, if you missed the first part of the announcement, go grab your Gleaning in His Field 15-day devotional journal through the complete Book of Ruth. If you are a business owner, entrepreneur, a ministry leader in any sort, if what God has called you to do involves you helping people and leading people, then you are going to want to download this ebook and go through it day by day, 15 days to get through 4 chapters. And it is going to be a game changer for you. So thank you all for joining me again on this live study. We are halfway through the Book of Ruth. Next week, we're going to do chapter 3, and then we're going to do chapter 4, and then we're going to take a pause from these Bible studies. But I hope that it's been helpful. Let me know in the chat. And I just want you to be excited about the favor provision that is on the way for you.